Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very big welcome to Lecture 2, during which I'm going to be covering Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, which is organization, which is talking about structure and culture in an organization, especially relating to projects. And we're going to talk about defining the project. Now, what I would like you to know is what I'm doing is going to be very relevant, specifically for the projects and the assignments we are going to be doing. It's also going to be very, very relevant for your assignments and tests that are coming up. There's a test coming up in week 4 and there's another one coming up in week 7. So what I'm covering is very, very important, and I can assure you that if you come to my classes, this is exactly the sort of knowledge you need to have to be able to do well in those tests, including the calculation that you are expected to start working on starting next week. So please don't miss any lectures, don't miss any tutorials, because the information is very relevant to help you into passing that subject. Last week, I started talking about a project. What is a project? The benefit of the project. And we started talking about all the important information, such as which sort of projects we need to go and work on. We need to choose very specific, tailored projects because we do not have plenty and abundance of resources in our organization. We always have limited resources available. And because of that, it is about using those resources in the best possible manner. And to do so, it's about choosing the right projects to work on at any point of time. So today we're going to build on that. We assume we've chosen the project. We're going to have to decide how we're going to go and run and manage a project. What is the structure in terms of team structure we're going to be doing for us to get people working on a project to ensure it's going to go and get done within the expected timelines. We're going to talk about the culture. What sort of culture we need to go and introduce so that people who are working on our project are going to be happy, are going to feel motivated, are going to feel engaged, and so on. We're also going to talk about defining the project, talk about various aspects relating to defining a project. Specifically, we need to talk about what is the project scope. And that's a very important thing that you guys need to go and complete for your assignment, group assignment. We're going to have to talk about creating work breakdown structure, which is again relating to what you need to do for your assignment. We're going to, as we move on, start talking next week about the schedule, start talking about the budget, and you need to do calculations, which is not simply going to come in your tutorial and your quizzes, but also it's going to come and needs to be applied in your assignment. So there's a lot of application in this project. It is not a boring subject. It's a lot of exercises, applications, speaking together to be able to get the right outcome. So I'm going to start talking on this learning objective. So we're going to identify different project management structures and understand how good are they and what's bad about them. We're going to look at the various way we can manage a project, and we call it a metric structure. And there's various types of metric structure, which I'll talk about, and see what is the benefit of a metric structure. We're going to understand the organizational and project consideration that we should think about before we decide which structure. Like, do we have enough people in an organization to have one specific structure or another? Is project management really, really important in our business for us to have a certain structure? We start thinking about that. We appreciate the significant role of culture. Culture is like a values that everybody share within the organization. It's how everybody thinks and behave in an organization. Do we have the right culture in that environment to get the job done? We're going to think about the various elements of planning a project. We talk about the very foundational aspect. What is project scope? And scope is about all the foundation, about the requirements of a project, which you'll develop in your assignment. And in your tutorial exercise today, if you stay in the tutorial, if you get engaged in the tutorials, those activities you need to go and apply in your assignment from an IT perspective, you would have already applied them here in the tutorials from another perspective. So if you know how to apply it by attending your tutorials today, you'll be able to use that learning to go and bring it to your assignment. We talk about the work break and structure, which is structuring all the tasks we need to get the job done. And from there, you can use that work break and structure to create the right planning, to put the timelines, what's the start date and end date, to put the budget, to put all of this information. So we go and create all of these foundational information that you need to be able to go and get the job done. I'm going to start with this small comic. You know, Dilbert, I need you to help Ted on this project. Okay, well, if Ted project succeed, who will get the credit? Well, Ted will. It's his project. What if it fails? Well, it's your fault. You didn't help him enough. That's not really the sort of culture you would like to go and create in an organization. If something goes well, it's a team's effort. If something goes not so well, it is a team effort. But it's not your fault. It's us learning what's wrong and learning how can we make it better in the future. If I spend my time helping Ted, will my own project suffer? Well, the only way this makes sense is if my projects are unimportant, and so am I. Well, if it makes you feel better, Ted and his project are unimportant too. Well, my question there is, if something in an organization we're working on is not important, it basically defies the whole objective we mentioned last week, which is about working about things that align with our strategy in an organization. So if something we're working on is unimportant, that's mean we're wasting our resources in the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I see we have 37 people here. If anybody have any question, if anybody is not sure at any point of time, please make sure you message me, because I'll be able to go and make sure I see there's a comment and I'll be able to answer your questions straight away. So please keep communicating if there's anything you do not understand. And if you want to also ask questions, please interrupt me and ask any questions you have. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what happened? Go. Give me 1 second. All right, so I'll continue, guys. So when we talk about the project management structures, we talk about a number of structures. There's what we call a functional structure. There's what we call a dedicated team structure, and what we call a matrix structure. And this could be a question in your quiz that you need to answer in week 4. So when we talk about a functional structure, it's like an organization. The normal way in the organization. Pujan, are you live?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one very quick question, my friend. If we talk about an organization, if we talk about Google, Apple, Microsoft, whatever it is, if we talk about Woolworths, what sort of departments do you believe they have? Can you tell me any department you believe they might have?
IT department?
IT department, absolutely, my friend. So the way that a functional organization work, you will go, and if you have an IT department, you will go and assign the project to the IT department. The IT department does all the support, but guess what? They also are delivering projects within the actual organization. So in addition to them doing their normal job, providing support and so on, we might also assign them a project for them to go and deliver at any point of time. We could do the same for marketing. We could do the same for HR. Basically, we go and find any department we have in the business. And in addition to their job, we say, we have a project. We want you to go and work on that project. The second way is different. We organize dedicated teams. So if I have an IT department, I don't simply say, well, the IT department, do your job and do the project. No, we go and say, you know what? We have a project. We'll go and create a whole project team whose job is only to work on the project. And those people will inquire so many various individuals from the business, from marketing, from HR, from whatever departments. But these people don't work anymore in that department. They simply work on that project completely. So they employ dedicated. They might have an HR background, but they're not employed to work in HR. If that project is related to HR, they work in the project team, and that's totally what they work on. They don't work on anything else in the organization other than that specific project that they've been basically given. The third example is what we call a matrix, which is a mix between a project structure and a functional structure. You still create the project teams, but these project teams, you go and source them from people who currently work in various structures. So yes, you might have a project team, but those people in the project team might be sourced from IT, from marketing, from HR, from business, from sales. They might have all of those people who at the same time work in the functional department and totally work on that project. So they have two responsibilities basically at that point of time. Does that make sense? Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's continue. So if I talk about functional organization, that's very simple to do. It's like you're working in your department, continue working in the department. It's like I'm the manager of IT. I say, hey, listen, I know your job is to go and support people, but what I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to, in addition to your work, I want you to go and just see how you're going to go and create a new call logging system for me. I want to go and buy a help desk software, and I want you to go and assign you a task, and that project task is I want you to go and evaluate all of these software that are in the market so that we can go and help and choose a new software to our organization. Your job is still to deliver support, but I gave you another project that I would like you to go and manage yourself as part of the organization. Or I might give it to you and maybe a few other people in the functional IT department where we work. So different segments of the project are delegated to the functional area. Coordination is maintained through the normal channel. So the IT manager, when this employee does the job, he still coordinates with the manager. Nothing else changes. Okay, it's all the same way we report. The person who works in the marketing department still report to his marketing manager. Nothing has changed. No coordination is changing. Use one functional area is a dominant role in completing a project or has a dominant interest. For example, if IT is dominantly interested in one project, we'd usually give it to the people in IT, say, you go, in addition to the job, I'm allocating you this specific project to go and work on. Now this has an example. Like if you go and look here, you have people in marketing, people in engineering, people in manufacturing, people in procurement. You can see people in engineering, they're delivering all of this project. You have all of those people, electronics engineering, software engineering, mechanical engineering, design, all of these work for this engineering department. And in addition to doing their job, they're working in that project that is in that specific department.
So is that all related to what we are studying? So we can be any of those?
You could be, well, if you talk,
after we graduate.
If I'm going to give you the example about the IT,
yeah,
okay, you could be a business analyst, you could be a tester, you could be a developer, you could be a user story writer, you could be a project manager, you could be a scrum master, you could be whatever. So instead of engineering, you could have what we call IT, and that's your IT department. And in your IT department, you might be a help desk, but in addition to be help desk support, for example, you might also be allocated projects to work on at the same time by your manager. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So we, as a whole, we are just IT, right?
You are IT, correct. So you are the IT department.
Ah, okay. So we might fall under engineering, we might fall under project management. It could be anything.
Well, yes, but in an organization where I've been working a lot of time and everywhere, it's actually called IT department. And the IT department is usually divided into two. There's people who are working on providing support, IT support, which is support services, and people working on delivering project services. The way that I want you to think about it, if you are working in IT and your job is to provide second level support to people who actually call you, and you have a manager, that's your normal job. But if your manager wants to tell you, look, I have this project for you, could you work on it in my department? At the same time, you also work on that specific project that the manager has given you. Okay? But you're working within your functional area. You're working within IT only.
Okay, sir.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Thank you, Sajata. Now, the advantage of this sort of structure, there's no structural change. You are working in your department and you're still working in your department. It is flexible because your manager could give you this project, could give you another project in the IT within your department, could give more than one person and put someone to help you. All of this could be done. It's very flexible. The manager could do whatever they would like because you report to them. There's an in-depth expertise. The project manager will give you tasks and projects related to your area. So you are an expert. And there's a very easy post-project transition. What happens when you finish working on that project for your manager? You go and work on your normal task. If your task is delivering support, you go back to providing support. Nothing changes. You've been doing burst jobs anyway. Now, the disadvantage is, because you're doing burst jobs, both your task of providing second level support and working to go and deliver the project for your manager, you're not focused. You're not focused on one thing. There's an integration problem. For example, if you're working with more than one person in your department, you might have an inability or difficulty to integrate your work together. If you're working on your main activity, which is answering people's phone calls, it could be slow for you to go and work on another job to get the task because your priority is doing your primary job, which means you have a lack of ownership. Yes, you want to do the task, but your primary task is about, let me go and do my primary task in the functional department. If it's support, then let me go and provide the support that I'm expected to go and deliver. The second structure is what we call a dedicated team. Teams operate as separate units. They have their own manager, they have their own employees, they have usually a full-time project manager, and they have specialists. In the IT environment, the specialist could be a developer, as we said, tester, business analyst. If we're talking about Scrum terms, we might be talking Scrum Master, we might be talking about a product owner. We start using all of these names. We talk about development team, all of these things. But what you do, you might be having an IT department that's working by itself, and then you go and create a brand new team that the whole job is just working on a project. Macquarie Bank have hundreds of Scrum teams. Scrum teams is a word for project management teams. These people work on nothing more than just deliver projects. They don't do anything else. Sorry?
What is Scrum?
Scrum is a specific approach of delivering project management. We call it an agile way of delivering project management. And it's basically taking over the big companies because it enables us to deliver tailored solutions that keep on change based on what customers are requesting. So we will be talking in detail about Scrum when we reach what we're probably week 7 or week 8. We'll start talking in detail about that, and you will basically be given the opportunity to apply that Scrum methodology as part of your big assignment. But in simple words, Scrum is an approach we use to go and deliver projects in organizations. There's 2 approaches we'll be covering for you throughout the course. There's a project management body of knowledge approach, and there's a Scrum approach. And both of them are important, and we'll talk about both of them as we progress throughout the course. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. So the team operate as separate units. You have your own team, simply focus on delivering the project. You employ people only to work on that project, and that's their work. In a projectized environment, functional departments are usually there, but what they do, they support the team. For example, when I was working in career1.com.au, Career One have employed specific project teams. Everybody is working only on the team. But there were so many support functions. I was working on one of the support functions, and my job was also to go and provide support for the teams in the project. For example, if the project manager comes and tells me, could you please run me a report about something because we'll need to go and use it before we can plan what we're going to go and deliver for our project. I say, yeah, no problem. It's part of my job. I go and run a report and I give it to them. So as a functional team, you go and support the project team into the information they need. The functional team could be a sales department. The sales department might be needing to go and give all the business requirements to the project team. They will support the project, giving them what they want to be able to get the job done. Now, the way that it looks is you still have, for example, marketing, HR, legal, finance, IT, and so on, but you have project managers who are dedicated, and you have resources who are only dedicated to work on that project. So Alpha project manager, you have engineering, manufacturing, procurement, IT, and so on. Beta project manager, the same ways. These guys, they report only to the project manager, and they only work on that project that they assign on at any point of time. So it's different than doing two jobs. They're simply working on that one specific job in charge and reporting to the project manager. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that's perfectly fine.
Excellent. Now, the advantage is it's simple. Why it's simple? Because you have a manager, you're working in that project, and that's all what you're working on. And because you're only working on the project, you're fast. You can do the job quicker. And because everybody is working collaboratively in a team, it's cohesive. And because everybody's working together and planning the work together, they can get integration of the work together. Now you're going to say, why do I need integration? Imagine like this. Imagine when you are a project team usually will have more than one development team. One development team might work on one module. The other development team might work on another module. But to get the project done, the project manager must get this module and this module to work well together. Now, when you're planning things together, when you're working things together, it becomes very easy to go and get the integration happening for these projects and these modules that get created together. The disadvantage is it's expensive. It costs you a lot of money. Business analysts get paid around $800 a day. Testers, about $800 a day. Some project managers get in excess of $1,500 a day. So it's not a cheap exercise, but I'm giving you those figures so that you will know there's a lot of money in that project, especially project delivery field of project management. Go to that field. There's money in that field.
People work there, right?
Sorry?
Because all the experienced people work in there, right?
Well, what you need to know about it, okay, within a couple of years of, like you might go and start there, within a couple of years, 2-3 years, you'll find your wage jump to 100,000.
Sir, but it's very hard to find for a fresher. They won't employ fresher.
Let me tell you this example. Do you think I was a fresher in the past? When I graduated, was I a fresher? Yes or no? Did I get a job? Yes or no? Yes, I did. So what do you need to do? You need to continue starting. You start somewhere and you build your experience. So even if you don't have this experience now, don't think you won't get a job. Otherwise, why are we even studying this degree? Yes, we can get, we have to be dedicated and we can get where we want to be.
Sir, but in every place, like when you try to see, they'll say like, oh, 1 year of experience or 2 years of experience, or minimum this many years of experience.
That's what they all say. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and when the time comes, I can give you advice. When you get to the stage where you want to apply for a job, I start giving you advice, giving you direction. But I'll tell you one thing, Sujata.
Yes, sir.
You want to be able to get that job? I'm going to give you one very small recommendation.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
Work
Please.
very hard, get the best marks, because that will set you apart from everybody else who applies for a job.
Yes, sir. Sure.
That's one thing I recommend you do. Second thing I recommend you do, if you want to go into the project management field, you go to the project management body of knowledge and you become PMP certified. Okay? You get extra accreditation. You go and get a Scrum Master certification. And there's a lot of jobs for a junior Scrum Master.
So is that another course we have to do after doing this degree?
These are short courses you can do that shows the potential employer that you're very dedicated to that field. A Scrum Master, you can just read the book and apply for the test. It doesn't cost you much, but it shows your dedication. And when you say, I'm a Scrum Master, oh yeah, we want a Scrum Master, we will employ you. That again sets you apart from everybody out there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, totally fine, because everything is step-by-step process and everyone begins from the fresher.
Absolutely. But it is
Now they're experienced, it doesn't mean we can do that.
Guys, I will tell you, Zaka and
Yeah.
everybody, I was an international student myself. I came to this country in 2001.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I went and I did everything you guys are doing. So it is possible. Okay?
You are the motivation for us, sir.
Thank you very much. And I want to be your motivation because I believe in you.
Sir,
Thank
Thank you.
All right, let's continue, guys. There's advantages. It's expensive. Sometimes there's internal competition, especially if the team members don't like each other. People are very limited in technological knowledge. They know about, let's say, specific language, Java or whatever, or back-end development or front-end development. They have limited expertise, and it's difficult post-project transition. So if they finish this project and there's no other project which is in the same field, in the same area in the company, you might have difficulty to go and get those people to come and continue working in that company. So what happens a lot of time, people finish this project, they finish it in this company, they go to the next company, and next company, and so on.
sir,
Yes.
if we do the certifications online, is that okay? Or we have to do from any institute?
I do recommend some specific institutes that are more recognized than others. For example, the project management body of knowledge is definitely where you should be getting it from. And there's Scrum Alliance, who is verified as one of the biggest certifiers of Agile project management.
Okay, so online certifications are not that good, right?
Online certification needs to be from a specific companies, I recommend. So Scrum Alliance is one of the companies that you will get it online, but rather than get it online from a company that is not very well looked at in the market, get it from a company that people look highly on.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Guys, matrix structure is really a mix between a functional structure and a project structure. People work, it's like different than a functional structure. In a functional structure, you'd report to the manager, let's say the IT manager. Yes, you might be doing 2 jobs, but you still report to one manager only. In matrix, the person really works and reports to 2 different people. So it's like you have someone who works in the IT department and at the same time works on various projects in that specific department. I'll show you an example. Look here, I have Zeta Manufacturing. They have HR, they have finance, they have project directors of projects, they have engineering, they have manufacturing, they have marketing. In marketing, they have customer service, domestic sales, and international sales. In manufacturing, they have assembly, testing, and quality. In engineering, they have design engineering, electronics, software engineering, mechanical engineering, and technical documentation. But
Why
in
we
addition,
can't be a computer engineer?
what's that?
But we don't get title as computer engineer, do we?
Well, there's so many titles that people go and use in the market. You could be getting software engineering. You could be getting a developer. You could be getting a software developer. You could be getting a tester. There's different titles that you might be getting depending on the job you go and apply for.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, what is your views? Like, does the title doesn't matter or not?
I think my view. Can I
Just
actually?
a title.
Can I
If you
answer you that
like,
question?
if a man don't have any knowledge related to that field, I don't think the title does matter.
Yes, I do recommend. I do recommend that I delay answering this question until week 12, because
Okay.
week 12 is the last week where I'll giving you the advice for the future. So let me preserve that advice till the time where it's going to be better and more suited for you.
That's okay, totally
All
fine.
right.
Thank you.
So let's do that.
Yeah, sure.
Now, in engineering, guys, you have a software engineer. Software engineer might be doing whatever tasks he have in his functional department. But at the same time, the software engineer, in addition to working in his functional department, he might be assigned to work in a specific dedicated team. So you look in this example. I have project B manager. They got one person. Can you see my mouse? Can you see my mouse?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you have one person who work in the director of projects. You have one person, 3 people who work in design engineering department. So they work in a functional department, but also they're working on a project. You have one electronic engineer who work in the functional department, but also in the project. Software engineer, one who works in the department and in the project. So you can see how they have so many resources who are working in a project and reporting to a project manager, but also working in their department and reporting to the engineering manager. Does that make sense? So you have 2 managers. You have the manager who gives you job, which is your normal functional job. You work for them and you report for them. And you have a manager who is your project manager, who is working with you to deliver a project, and he's also your manager. And you're delivering a totally different job for that specific person. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now, if we talk, there's different metrics. There's what we call a weak metric structure. A weak metric structure means the person who is working in the functional department and the functional manager is the one who have the most power. So the functional manager in that department, he's the one who people mainly report to. A balanced metric structure is where the project manager is responsible for creating the plan, and the functional manager is responsible to ensure that the plan gets accomplished and implemented. So there's a balance of power and responsibility in the balanced metric structure. Strong metric structure, the project manager is the one who have control. People have to report to him, and the functional department is only really supporting the project manager to ensure things get done. Now, the advantage is it's efficient. You are maximizing the use of your resources by getting people not simply to work on their job, but also work on the project. There's a very strong project focus. There's easy post-project transition because you go back to your department, and it's flexible. If you want more people, there's a negotiation between the manager and the functional manager, the project manager and the functional manager. I want more, give me more resources. Disadvantage, there's a conflict. Imagine the department or functional manager have all the power, and the project manager doesn't have any employees and want employees, but he's not getting what he wants to get the project done. He will start fighting. And it's very stressful, especially for the employee. Imagine you're the employee and you have 2 managers, and every manager tells you to do something that is different than the other person. Now again, because the person is doing 2 jobs, it is slow in getting the job done. It is slower than getting people simply dedicated and delivering projects. Now, you need to choose the right structure. Guys, this question here is a question you need to go and work on as with other people in your tutorial today. You need to decide what structure works for you. And you really need to answer questions to be able to decide. You need to ask yourself, how important is a project for my firm to be successful? If it's very, very important, you might go and create a dedicated structure. It is not very important, you might go and create a matrix structure or even a functional structure. What percentage of my core work involve projects? If a lot of my work involve projects, guess what, guys? We need a dedicated structure. What level of resources do we have available? If you have so many resources, you might say dedicated structure. If you have limited resources, you might say functional structure or a metric structure. So really, there's a lot of questions you need to ask before you decide how you're going to go and run your project. Other things to consider. How big is a project? How strategically important is it? Are we doing something that is new? Is there a lot of innovation and that's why we need people dedicated for the project? Do we need a lot of integration? If there's integration, how many departments are involved? Are there 20 people involved? And it's better if we do it in a project team? Is there a lot of environmental complexity? For example, are we working with so many external parties that we need to go and try to get the right information to at the specific time? Do we have a budget and time constraints? Do we have a stable resource requirements? All of these are very much relevant questions for us to decide whether we go and employ a project structure, metric structure, or a functional structure. Now, when I'm going to give you that tutorial question very shortly, I want you to look at these questions and think, okay, let's ask those questions to be able to get the answer. So remember that when the tutorial comes. Now, I'm going to play a very quick video for you guys about organizational culture. To get the job done, you need a culture. The culture needs to be positive, needs to be encouraging, needs to be helping people to innovate, helping people to negotiate, allowing constructive conflict to get the job done. It's all about the culture. So let me play this video to you about what is organizational culture.
Culture. When you hear this word, what comes to mind? Is it the differences in people's beliefs? Is it what people value? Or maybe it's the shared expectations people have to act a certain way. Now think of your workplace. How is this different from other places where you've worked or studied? How were your expectations different? Did your employer value different things? The fact is, all workplaces are different. They all have their own organizational culture. This means they all have different norms, meanings, values, and beliefs. Different employers have different expectations of their workers. All of these factors help form an organizational culture. Workers use this culture to decide how to act and how to solve problems. What does a positive organizational culture look like? Well, let me first tell you a story. This is Leanne. Leanne feels constantly stressed at work. She feels that her work environment lacks respect, trust, and honesty. Leanne works very hard, but feels that in order to succeed at her job, she has to fit in with the culture, or it may be considered a sign of weakness. She's always in competition with her coworkers. Every day, Leanne comes to work wanting to look for another job, anywhere but here. This was an example of what a negative organizational culture could look like. On the other side of things, workplace cultures that are psychologically safe and healthy have trust, honesty, and respect. People treat each other with civility and respect. Decisions are made in a fair way. People feel like they're part of a team, working toward the same goal. Some signs that you have a positive culture would be that people are satisfied with the work they do. There's great morale and teamwork. and you feel supported. A workplace with a positive organizational culture is somewhere where people want to work and want to stay. People in the community feel it's a good place to work even if they don't work there. So what are some things that you can do in your workplace to help build a positive organizational culture? Employees can try a team building activity. Managers can look at starting a mentorship program between emerging and more experienced leaders. Everyone can help set the tone for positive organizational culture by writing down what your company believes and what they value, and what is the purpose of the work you are doing. Starting a walking group or activity during lunch, getting outside, connecting with nature. Taking your breaks, have some time to connect with your coworkers or someone in your life. Take some time now to write down what you are already doing to contribute to a positive organizational culture and what you can be doing. If it's just one thing, you can make a difference. Organizational culture is one of 13 factors that support psychological health and safety in the workplace. Learn more at mentalhealthcommission.ca/national standard. For more resources for your workplace, check out havethattalk.ca. Developed in collaboration by Ottawa.
So guys, can you think about any organization that have a great culture? Like you hear about a great place to work. Can you think about one? Wow, I have 45 people now. I love it, guys. Thank you very much for the dedication. Can you think about one company where everybody loves to work? Niraj.
Google,
Google. Why Google?
because I heard that their people are enjoying their work there because they give time to take break and all. They care about the employees and all.
They give them food, they give them holidays, they give them team building, you can go in shorts. You name it.
I heard that, I don't know it's true or not, but they give time to sleep as well to the employees as well. The working hours.
Well,
In
lucky
the
them,
working hours,
whoever's working there.
I'm not
Oh,
sure. It's
all
They
the
have, like,
MNCs
pods
companies
and
as well.
like
What's
sleeping
that?
pods at Google. I must join the Google.
You might join Google. Why not? Okay, can I tell you something, guys? One of my students joined Google.
Oh, that's great.
So you guys could be the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, if they allow to sleep at working hours.
Eh?
If they allow us to sleep at working hours.
Why not? All right, let's continue, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Let's continue. So organization culture is about a shared norms, shared beliefs, shared values, shared assumption that bind people together. It's what we call the organizational personality. It's the identity of the people. It's basically help us to understand how things are managed. It helps us to understand how we should be behaving. For example, a company that have a very customer-focused culture means when a customer looks a complaint, everybody goes and say, we want to help the customer, because they're very much customer-focused culture. So you think about what sort of cultures people go and have. A lot of businesses, especially all of these big businesses, have values. Where I used to work, one of the values we had was called in touch. What does in touch mean? Being in touch with the needs of my clients. And people wanted to be in touch and know what the client needs. Primary characteristics that determine an organization's culture. Member identity. Do people associate themselves with the organization or with a specific job? Like, do I say, look, I'm an IT employee, or do I say I'm a Google employee? What do I do? Is it the member identity for my job or my organization? Do I focus on the team? The degree to which the work is organized around groups rather than individuals doing the job. The focus of management, the degree to which management decisions take into account how are we going to impact on our students, on our employees. The unit integration, the degree to which the organization units are encouraged to work together, interdependently, or work in silo. You work by yourself, you work by yourself. Depends. The control, the degree to which rules, policies, and direct supervision are used to oversee and control employee behavior. if you're trying to control employees by saying, you do this and putting a camera, people won't feel comfortable. How are you controlling the people? Are you giving people freedom? Or are you saying, you must do it this specific way or else? Risk. The degree to which employees are encouraged to be aggressive, innovative, and risk-seeking. Well, when you're actually encouraging project management, that's what you do. You encourage more taking risks. Are we giving people reward based on who they know or how big they are, or based on their performance and what they are doing? Do we allow conflict and encourage it between employees? Or do we say, oh, don't criticize each other, don't do conflict at all? Constructive conflict is very important in projects. Do we say means versus end? Do we say, let's get the job done and it doesn't matter how we do it? Or we say, oh, we need to think about, are we working ethically to get the job done? For example, it was a few years ago, a problem with the Sun newspaper in the UK. They went and they were getting all the best stories all the time. But how they did it, they were against the law tapping the phone calls of very important members, such as politicians. Do we say, let's get the job done regardless of how we do it? Or do we say, let's do it in the right manner? The open system focus, the degree to which the organization monitors the environment and responds to it. And if you want to deliver projects, and if you want to make sure you preserve your resources and use them in the best manner, guess what? You need to always look at the environment and make sure whatever you're working on is adding value to the organization. When you think about the project management dimensions that are supportive of projects, is member identity. People associate themselves more with the organization in a project environment. People associate with a group. There's a lot of people focus, more people focus than task focus. There's a lot of interdependence between people could work together. People are given control, employees, to do whatever they believe is right. They can take a lot of risks. They're rewarded based on their performance. Conflict is allowed. You need to be very careful between balance between how you're getting the job done. Don't do it at any expense. And you need to be open to the external environment to be able to always see how changes could impact on your organization. So you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, you can see to be able to go and get a more focus on projects, this is a sort of culture that you need to go and have. For projects to be successful, that's a sort of culture that supports good projects. Now, when we talk about culture, how do you know what the culture is out there? Look at the physical characteristics of the organization. Do you see a lot of rooms where people have team meetings? Do you see small areas where people are sitting and working together and collaborating? Do you see there's a lot of values that are displayed on the walls? That's all things you go and observe. Read about the organization. It tells you about the culture. Look about how people are working together when you're there. Interpret all of the stories, okay, that are there. All the stories, all the folklore surrounding the organization. Look at that, see what's happening there, and then from there, decide what sort of culture the organization has. One of the cultures, one of the stories at Alibaba, they tell you how Alibaba was created. They went and they created a team of people. They went to the actual apartment of the founder of Alibaba. They were giving a project and they were told this project is very important for changing the whole future of our organization. Everybody still talks about it because it's one of the most important stories they tell to encourage people and to understand the culture that exists into that environment. Now, the project manager has many challenges. He has to interact with the culture in his department and with the subcultures. For example, you might be having a group of people who are from the same culture, who only communicate with each other and trust each other. That's a subculture that a project manager needs to deal with. You might be having a department culture, such as a marketing department. They might have things that say we only work in silo. And the project manager needs to go and see people working more in collaboration. That's another subculture that we need to go and work on. We need to go and interact with the project clients. We need to go interact with the customer organization, who again will have their own cultures, and we have to understand how they operate, and we have to go and deal with them. We have to interacting with other organizations connected to the project. Could be, for example, a government agency that we need approval from them to get the job done. That's add more complexity. So there's so many cultures and subcultures that a project manager needs to go and navigate to get the job done. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the next part of today's lecture, where we talk about defining the project. And we're going to talk about so many various steps involved in defining a project. And I will say those steps needs to be implemented starting today. You're going to start applying what I'm teaching you in your tutorials and down the track in your assignment. Now, what I'm going to say now is I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to ask, do you have any questions that you want me to answer before I proceed?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
No one? Anyone else have any question?
All good, sir. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. All right, guys. So let's start talking about the things we need to talk about in relation to the defining of the project. So defining of the project, guys, is really something that involves a number of steps. The first step we talk about is about defining the project scope. The project scope is about what are we expected to go and deliver at any specific point of time. It's really the requirements that the client comes and tell me I need to go and deliver. Second thing, we need to establish a project priorities. What is important? Is it important for us to go and deliver things on time? Is it important to deliver things within cost? Is it important for us to deliver specific requirements? 3, we need to create the work breakdown structure. For me to deliver that scope, I need to go and create a structure, which is all the high-level requirements, all the sub-level requirements, and all the tasks I need to do to deliver my main goals that are specified in the project scope. I need to integrate my work breakdown structure with the organization. For example, if I go and find a work task that I need to go and complete, I'll say which work unit in my organization must complete it. Why? Because then I assign the cost of that work task to that work unit. So that's step number 4 we need to think about. And finally, coding the work breakdown structure for the information system. And I'll talk about that. I'll show you the examples, but it's about, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And in that level 4, we start assigning people, budgets, and so on to go and get the job to be delivered. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've now been working and progressing for about an hour. What I do usually is around halftime in my project, I will give my students a 10 minutes breaks for you to rest, eat, go to the toilet, do whatever you want to do. So I will give you a break now. You'll be able to go and do whatever you want at this stage. But before I let you go for a 10 minutes break, do you have any questions? Any questions?
All good, sir. Thank you.
All right, guys. Enjoy your break for 10 minutes, and then we'll start back in 10 minutes. Please be back at 10 past 4. All righty?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Amandeep, for the
Yeah.
message.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, guys. So continuing on the defining the project. The first step of defining project is defining the project scope. The project scope is really a definition of what is the end outcome of the project. Are we delivering a product? Are we delivering a service? We need to know what are we delivering in specific terms, in tangible terms, in measurable terms. You cannot tell me I want to have a IT software. You have to be specific. What sort of what sort of specifications you want for that IT project? Is there something specific you want? Do you want it to go and have on a Java technology? Do you want it to go and allow the customer to make a reporting? What is the correct specifications? If you want them to report, what sort of report? Do we need the first name and last name and so on? You need clarity, something that we can eventually measure down the track. The purpose of the scope is clearly define a deliverable for the end user. What are you going, Mr. User or Mr. Client, to go and get from me? We focus on the project on successful completion of its goals, to be used by the project owner and participants as they plan and measure whether they actually delivered things successfully. You have one question today in your tutorial that talks specifically about the project scope. When I asked you to go and create that project scope for your tutorial today, I want you to come and look at this that I just covered for you. I want you to look at this checklist. I want you to write the project objective. I want you to write the project deliverables. I want you to write what is called the milestone. Milestone is a point in a project that signifies a great outcome that has been delivered. For example, if you're writing 6 modules of an application, finishing module 1 might be a milestone. That's mean all the job for that specific module has been completed. You look at the technical requirement. What is technically is being asked from me? You look at what is limited. What are we not going to deliver? You look at the exclusions. You look at who is doing what in that example. You look at the reviews with a customer. The customer must go and actually review and tell us what needs to go and complete it at any point of time. They say, okay, I'm happy with that outcome, or I'm not happy at that point of time. Step number 2, we need to establish the project priorities. Now, I'm going to go and run a short video that talks about the project priorities. And I can tell you that there is a question bank I had created for my first quiz, which is coming in week 4. And in that quiz, there are questions about the project priorities. Let's listen to that now.
In this video, I'm going to answer the question, what is the iron triangle that project managers so often talk about? The iron triangle has many names, but whichever name you prefer to use, it will offer you valuable insights that will help you to understand project management, and it's therefore an essential concept to get to grips with. The iron triangle won't solve any of your project management problems, but it will make very clear to you the choices that you have. The iron triangle as a concept is key.
क्या कर रहे हो अपन टैप मार के चले गए ओवन पे कूद गए आधे घंटे के अंदर पलट के आके फिर से यहाँ टैप मार दिया खत्म $1.5
as quickly as possible and for the minimum cost. some people say time, cost, quality, pick two. It's not quite as simple as that, but it does capture the essence of the iron triangle. The three corners of the iron triangle are, firstly, time or schedule. Secondly, cost or budget or resources, because of course all resources have to be paid for. And the third corner is quality or functionality. I prefer to distinguish between the quality of what you produce and the range of functionality or the scope. Like most British project managers, I learned the iron triangle as time, cost, and quality. Most US-based project managers know the iron triangle as time, cost, and scope, which is how the PMI's project management body of knowledge represents it. The important thing to know about the iron triangle is that once you choose a quality and scope that meets your needs, and you budget for it so that you understand the cost, and you put in a complete estimate of how long it will take to deliver, you've locked together the three corners of the iron triangle. And triangles, as we know, are the most rigid shapes in nature. So you've now got your time, your cost, and your quality or functionality in balance. And the iron triangle is sometimes known as the triangle of balance for that very reason. Now, what happens if you want to change one of those corners? Maybe you want to deliver your project sooner, or perhaps you want to save some money and reduce the resources you use, or increase the specification of the quality standards. Well, you can't, because the iron triangle is rigid. You've created a balance in your plan. Consequently, if you want to change one of those corners, you have to change at least one other. If you want to increase the quality, then you're going to have to pay for it, and perhaps even take longer as well. If you want to deliver more quickly, then you'll either need to put in more resources or cut some corners. And of course, if you want to save some money, then you're almost certainly going to have to reduce the quality or the scope of functionality. Consequently, the three corners constrain one another. So the iron triangle is also sometimes known as the triple constraint. In my courses, I discuss how scope and quality are different, and therefore how the iron triangle really has four corners and gives you as a project manager even greater flexibility. But even with four corners, it is rigid nonetheless.
So guys, just building on that video, when we talk about, all of these project priorities, there's a trade-off we're trying to make, as the video mentioned, there's a trade-off between, what cost, what's the time, and what the specification or the scope we're trying to go and deliver at any point of time. You need to decide what is something you want to constrain, what is something you want to enhance, and what is something you are going to be accepting. For example, if you want to ensure that you cannot spend more than $100,000 on the project, we must constrain the budget. It cannot go over that specific amount. When we talk about accept is would say, look, I accept if the budget is going to go more than what we are expecting because the project needs to be delivered on time. That's accepting. You accept the extra budget for whatever reason. If we say it's enhanced, okay, it's about optimizing a criteria over others. For example, you might say, I want to enhance my time. Means what? Means I want the project to possibly try to see if we can finish it earlier. I want to enhance my budget. Means what? I want to make sure that I'm going to try to see if we can get the budget to be less than anticipated. I want to enhance my scope. Means what? I want to try to see if we can deliver extra requirements than what we've actually went and promised we are going to be delivering. So you look here, it's time, cost, scope, but there's also the quality. And it's not about one or the other. It's about all of these things together. So you see here on the target, the performance, the date, the time, the budget, it's all about a target. You should be able to define your project by stating all of these various objectives. You need to also think about one very, very important extra aspect that is not mentioned in any of these triangles. And that's really about customer acceptance. Is the customer going to accept and be happy with what we went and delivered to them? You look at this specific matrix. Now, Amandeep. Amandeep?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my question to you is, if you go here and look, it's saying, I wanna enhance my time. What does it mean?
It means that I want to finish my project before the deadline.
I want to try to finish it before the deadline. What does accepting cost mean?
Like the cost should be reasonable.
So what does accepting mean?
So I don't know this, sorry.
Means if the cost is going to increase, I accept it. That's what it means. Constrained performance means I must deliver those requirements. I cannot change it. So you need to think about all of these constrain and hence accept in relation to the criteria that are relevant for your project.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Step 3. We think about the work break and structure. What is a work break and structure? I'm going to ask you guys a question. You are trying to work on project management. Can you tell me what are the main things you need to do or the main assessments you need to do to be able to pass project management? Can anybody tell me? Niraj?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you tell me about the main tasks you need to complete or the main assessments you need to go and complete to pass to pass this subject?
The subject, like there are like tutorials, assignments.
and
Okay, assignment. How many assignments do you have? How many assignments do you have?
2 quiz and 1 group assignment.
4 assignments.
We have 4 assignments. So let me ask you a question. I'm going to actually get a paper to show it for you. So if you look, what if your main task could be complete assessments? You might have a subtask called assessment 1, a subtask called assessment 2, a subtask called assessment 3.
Yes, sir.
So can you have a look, guys? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
So the main task 1 is complete assessments. The subtask is assessment 1. The subtask is assessment 2. The subtask is assessment 3. Now, if we say assessment 1, what is assessment 1, guys?
It's quiz 1.
What's assessment 1?
It's the main overall project, and
No,
those are all
assessment 1 is the
divided.
quiz.
Deliverable.
Quiz 1.
Assessment 1 is your quiz.
Yeah.
Okay? So to complete and to pass quiz 1, what do you need to do? What do you need to do? The first thing you need to do, what is it? To pass the quiz.
Complete the first task, subtask, the quiz.
What's that? Okay, so do you need to attend the lectures?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to attend tutorials?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to complete tasks?
Yep.
Okay. Do you need to go and read chapters?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, you need to go
Attend
and
the
sit quiz. You see,
Attend the quiz.
there are 5
Yep.
activities. Can you see them?
Yep. All connected together. Yep.
So this is what we call a work breakdown structure. The first level
Yep.
is the high level. The second level is level 2, level 2, level 2, and the subtasks is the level 3. Level 3 is the work that you need to complete to pass. Every one of these activities consume time. To attend the lecture, you need time. To attend the tutorial, you need time. To complete the task, you need time. To read the chapters, you need time. And to sit the quiz, you need time. Once you do all of this, you have what we call a milestone. And that milestone says, quiz 1 is completed. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
For every project you're going to go and do, every single project, it basically having exactly the same requirement. It doesn't matter which project you want to do. If you want to be able to go and deliver an IT project, your job would be to go and look at all of these various requirements, to go and start with the high level goals and go all the way to the low level goals to be able to go and understand what needs to be done. Once you go and put those sub activities in a project, you can then assign the time, start time and end time. You can assign a person and you can assign a budget. So in a project, when you write these sub activities, you also assign a person, start date and end date, and you assign a budget. This work breakdown structure, guys, is your foundation to deliver good information technology projects. This work breakdown structure is the foundation. You need to go and demonstrate application in your big assignment, group assignment. So you need to know all of this information. It's very, very important. How work breakdown structure helps a project manager? It helps evaluation of cost, time, and technical performance. Why? Because for every task, we put a start time and end time. We put a budget, we put a person. Then I can monitor. Are we delivering within time, within cost? Are we delivering the requirements or not? Provide management with information appropriate to each organizational level. For example, who's going to be having to go and pay for a specific task in the organization? Help, assign project responsibilities. Which unit in my organization is responsible to do any part of that work breakdown structure? Simply, we can manage a plan, we can schedule, we can budget, and we can understand all of these people we need to go and communicate with and coordinate with to go and get the job done. Now, continuing, you look here, that's an example of work breakdown structure. The high level is we want to create a personal computer prototype. Okay, to create a prototype, what do we need? Well, we need the main level, we need vendor application software, we need mouse and keyboard, we need the disk storage, we need a microprocessor. Great. If you would like to get a disk storage unit, what's the third level? Well, we need to buy a floppy, optical, and the hard drive. Great. If I want a hard drive, what do I need? Well, we need a motor, circuit board, chassis, and read and write head. Okay, to get all of these available, what do we need? You need to complete this work package, these work packages, these work packages, and these work packages. For every work package, you assign an employee, you assign a start time and end time, and because you assign an employee and start time and end time, you know how much it's going to cost you. For example, if I have an employee the employee works 8 hours a day and he gets paid $100 an hour, then I know on work package 1, if I put that person for 8 hours a day, then he needs to go and get paid $800 for that specific day. If he's working on work package 1M 6 days, and if he get paid $800 per day, then he needs to go and get paid 800 times 6 days, which is $4,800. So every work package is where people will work on it. They'll have a start time, they'll have an end time. We'll basically put the person and we'll know exactly how much each person gets paid, and that's why we can create a budget. Now, we won't be able to get that budget if we don't know the high level and the sub levels of all of these things we need to go and get to get that personal computer. We won't know the budget if we don't know the activities, when they're going to start, when they're going to end, who's going to be the person in charge of ensuring nurse activities gets done. Does that make sense, guys?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, guys, so far. Everything's going well. Now, as I said, the work package is the lowest level of the work breakdown structure. It is output oriented in that it defines what we need to do. It defines how long we need for it. It defines the cost for it. It defines how many resources we need. It defines who is going to be able to do it. And it basically helps us to monitor the milestones for measuring success. Milestone is about ensuring, have we delivered what we're supposed to go and deliver? Did we reach the goal that we told people we need to go and deliver at any particular point of time? Step 4 is about integrating my work breakdown structure with the organization. It's basically depicts how the firm is organized to discharge its work responsibility for the project. It basically summarizes a framework, summarizes a organization's work unit performance. If I give you that part of the work breakdown structure and you do it, how are you performing? I identify which unit is responsible for the work package. I link that work package to the cost control. If that team is working on it, if they're responsible, if they've been monitored to do the work, then whatever they work on, the cost goes to their account or to their accounting department in the organization, if that's how things are being managed in the organization. But simply, the work breakdown structure links to where the cost needs to be allocated across what we call various work centers in the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions?
All good, sir.
No questions, sir. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the step 5 is about coding the work breakdown structure. And coding is really what I just showed you. That is coding the work breakdown structure. Then we add the person, start time, end time, budget, and so on. We can add all of that. But coding is really about looking at the levels of the work breakdown structure, looking at the organizational elements, looking at the work packages, looking at budget and cost. This is basically becomes part of the next level, which is what we call developing a project plan. But we can report about the whole structure. We can report what's happening. We can report about all the information within that environment. So you look at this as one specific example. We have a computer project, which is that project that I showed you earlier, the prototype. We can think about, disk storage unit. When we talk about disk storage unit, we can think about external USB, optical, hard drive. When we think about the hard drive, we think about motor. We think about, for the motor, sourcing the work package. When we think about the hard drive, we think about read, write, and head. We think about, all of these cost accounts, who's going to be doing the job. We think about the work package. This is a work package. who's going to be doing one specific job. Now, you're going to need to go and develop work break and structures for your assignment, because the work break and structure is basically the foundations I would like to go and see in terms of how you are doing your planning. If you don't spend your time reading the assignment requirements, if you don't spend the time reading all the criteria that is there, reading the scope, reading the sort of budget, you won't be able to really go and create a good planning. You won't be able to create a work break and structure. If you don't create it, you can't assign people. You can't assign start and end times. If you don't assign people, you can't know how much it's going to cost you. So it's every step there is really interlinked to the next step. We need to connect them to get the answers to be delivered. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a project manager looking to go and develop a software application for the Australian government to help me track COVID cases. I want to specifically try to see if any person with COVID-19 has been in contact with another person from different location using that application. So the application is really to go and track what's happening at any point of time and whether people with COVID-19 are interacting together. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to try to think about what do you believe, who do you believe we should be communicating with for this specific project, and who are the stakeholders? Okay? So who do we need to communicate with? And who are our stakeholders? Do you understand the question? Do you guys understand the question?
Like you said, we're going to develop an application.
So you're developing an application
for the live COVID updates.
Like COVID, it is being developed for the Australian government.
Australian government, yeah.
Okay, I want you to tell me who are the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and who should I communicate with? So if you're a project team, who should you communicate with? And for your application, who are really your stakeholders?
First of all, Australian government.
Hold on. Don't answer me yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think about it. Alrighty?
Okay.
Your time is now.
Agencies or government employees?
So government agency. Okay, government agency and government employees. Okay.
Stakeholders can be any person who just invest on a particular business.
Okay.
Who is affecting the business or who can be affected by the business?
Okay, great. Who can be affected? Can you tell me who could be affected? Can you think about someone?
People,
Everyone.
patients.
Sorry?
Patients.
We can be affected.
You could be affected. So you could be students, you could be patients, you could be a doctor,
physician, healthcare professionals.
It doesn't matter that the stakeholders are not only from the inner company, but it might be from the external zone where the many peoples come around.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter, because you need to think about the stakeholders as anybody who not simply have a stake in the project, but someone external to your organization who is going to be affected by your project. And that's one thing I need you to bear in mind.
Yeah.
The second thing is, who should you be communicating with? If you are the project manager, who should you be communicating with?
Hospitals?
Communicate
With the
with
government
the
agencies.
state government
Okay, maybe the hospitals who
for their
because they want to
requirements
tell you
from
some
the
information
application.
about the app, how it should do. Maybe the government department, maybe the Department of Health of New South Wales or of the
Companies
government.
such as Vodafone and Telstra,
Well,
which can like
even the
easily.
project manager need even to be, you know, have talk with the different sectors, like in a company which has a financial sector, marketing sector, government sector, and even, you know, the various stakeholders, because they are very essential for any project.
Okay, absolutely. That's totally correct, my friend. So what you need to think in it when creating a project plan, you need to think what information we need to collect. When do we need to collect it? Who we need to send it to? How are we going to send it to them? How are we going to collect the data? What are the limits on who can access and see that information and who cannot access that information? When will the information be communicated? Am I going to use email? Am I going to use I don't know, Google Sheets? How are we going to go and communicate that information? It's really about conducting a proper analysis of who are all of our stakeholders, what are the needs, do they need a project status report, deliverable issue, do they need to know whenever there's a scope change, do they need to know about any meetings we're basically having at any point of time, because every stakeholder will have different requirements and different needs. If we know what information they need, we have to ask, where do we get that information? How are we going to disseminate it? Who is responsible to go and collect that information? When are they responsible to collect the information? And when are they responsible to communicate that information? It really looks like this specific example in a Shell All Research Project Communication Plan. We ask what information they need, who needs it, when do they need it, how are we going to communicate it, who is going to give it to them. All of this, guys, is very much relevant information. Now, they want a milestone report. Who needs it? Senior management and project manager. When do they need it? Twice a month. How are we going to communicate it? Email and hard copy. Who is going to provide it? The project office. Notice that the senior management needs a milestone report, but the staff and customer only need a project status report and agendas. And they don't need it bi-monthly, they need it weekly. And who's responsible? It's the project manager. The team status report, who needs it? Project manager and project office. When? Weekly. How? Email. Who's going to provide it? A person who's acting the role as a team recorder. So what you notice is we are trying to provide different information, and we provide this different information to different people. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense?
Yep, yes, sir.
Yes, that's perfectly
All
fine.
right, guys, every project will have different stakeholders. Every project will have different communication plan. Why? Because you need to go and look at your stakeholders. You need to ask them, what do you need? And you need to go and act accordingly. What is similar, however, is once you go and create a approach of what sort of information you create, for example, milestone report, okay? When you know there's this sort of information that we might be needing, it becomes somewhat more standardized. Like the information will be similar, what various managers would need from one company to another company. But in simple, initially, you need to go and understand what information, and you're not going to be initially start doing everything yourself. When you become a project manager, then you'll start creating some specific things, such as the project status report. When you are only a team member, you might simply be managing the issues record. You might simply be managing to take the meeting minutes and sending the meeting minutes. So as you grow in your role and with your experience, your responsibility of the information that you'll be collecting and communicating at any point of time will start increasing. Dear students, do you have any questions?
So, like you have said, the structure of any the project is based on the project. Like different project may have different structure, but it work in the sequence order.
What do you mean it works in the sequence order, my friend? Do you
Like
mean implementing the project?
Yeah, it's from defining project to executing project and accomplishing to a certain goal.
Absolutely. So the implementation of the project is actually, yes, there's a sequence. Know the requirement, plan, and get it done, and close the project. That's correct. The implementation side of things. But who does it? It changes. It depends on the organization.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else, guys? Okay.
No, sir. Thank you.
No worries, guys. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go here, app.gosobox.com. Could you go on your phone now? I believe there's a limit of 25 people who can do it at a time. So I'm going to allow you guys to have a few minutes to be able to do that. So app.gosobox.com. Go to that and put this access code now. Take a picture for it, guys, because I want to open another screen for you. So take a picture of that. Go to app.gosobox.com.
So we cannot see anything.
So there is nothing in the screen.
It's only any questions.
Okay. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
All right, go to that, please. app.gosobox.com. And I need you to put that number. I'm going to move to the next screen in a minute. There's 25 people at a time who can actually go and access this. So you need to wait for someone to do their task and then go out before someone else is allowed and able to go and log in. I'm going to go to the next screen now. So once you go in, there is a poll. I would like you to go and complete that poll now. Once you do it, please log out so that other people will be able to log in. So once you do it, please log out so that other people could log in.
So can we have the code again, please?
Yeah, no problem at all. Give me 1 second. I'll share that screen with you. So that's the code. Take a picture, guys, for it. So app.gosobox.com. And the access code is what you see in front of you now. Please take a picture of it. And once you do it, please log out. Right. I'll move back to that poll. Okay, there's 18 people already done it. So if the rest could please have a go at it, provide their answer. There's more people who can still log in now because yep, there's 21 answers so far. 21.
All of them.
22. I know there's 42 people enrolled at the moment in the classroom. So guys, if you can, if someone is confused, let me know. Not sure what to do. Who's confused? Anyone? All right, perfect. So there's 24 people so far. That's great. When you do it, log out so that the rest would be able to complete their answer. Anyone confused, not sure what to do?
So what are we doing?
Okay, so what you're doing, for those who didn't see it yet, is you need to go to app.gosoapbox.com and put this code. And then there's a poll. I need you to complete the poll, please. It's about me learning about how you're progressing so that we can always improve the subject for you. Are we clear? Okay, let me go and see on the other side. Okay, so great. So we have 27 people now who've already said that. There's still 13 people to go. Is there someone still confused? There's a poll you need to complete, yes?
Sir, can you just show the code once again?
Okay, I'll show the code once again. Thank you very much. Anyone else haven't picked up the code yet?
So once haven't picked up yet.
What's that, sorry?
So haven't picked up, still typing.
Okay, no worries. Great. Thank you very much. Anyone else didn't pick it up yet?
So attendance?
Attendance is, I've already took a note of all the people who I've seen on the recording. So when we start the tutorial, I'll be putting all the attendance for the lecture. When you go to your tutorial today, if your attendance is not there, please ask me, because I will have my picture. I'll add all the actual attendance from the picture that I have.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, but don't go, because I want to finish with the comments about today. So just wait before you finish, because there's still a couple of things I want to communicate. So let's finish the poll, please. There's 31 people, 32 people already. So let's just finish that poll. I'm going to move back now while you're completing the poll to the lecture. So guys, thank you very much again for all your effort. I would like you to continue coming every week so that we can make sure we give you the best learning. This poll that I'm asking is for me to know at any point of time how we could help you. If there's something you believe we can improve, you can email me, communicate with me, because it's about giving you the best experience ever from a teaching perspective. And we want you to learn. I don't want you to simply be a number in my classroom. I want you to be a person, individual who get the best support. To get the best outcome, guys, I give you those tasks for this week. Review the lecture slides and the tutorial materials and notes you've taken, and read chapters 3 and 4. Now you also need to attend your tutorial very shortly, where you're going to be applying a lot of the things that I've already taught you. And I want you to know very, very much that I care so much about you, and I appreciate you, and I thank you kindly for all your time and all your effort throughout the course, guys.
Thank you so much, sir. We do appreciate your time and teaching way for us.
Thank you very much, Sujata, and I look forward to have you guys in the tutorial. So we need to log out from this link, and I'll be logging in using another link for your tutorials. Okay, guys?
Thank you, sir.
All the best, guys. Thank you
you,
very
sir.
much
Thank
for your
you.
work.
Thank you, sir.
See you later.
See you.
All the best. Bye.